on this edition of the Self-Publishing Show.
And it's amazing how when I walk into a room, people go, "Oh, that's Stu. I know you. Where have I seen you? Oh, you're the guy that's on," because of me just dropping the odd line underneath people's stuff.
Publishing is changing. No more gatekeepers. No more barriers. No one standing between you and your readers. Do you want to make a living from your writing? Join indie bestseller Mark Dawson and first-time author James Blatch as they shine a light on the secrets of self-publishing success. This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Yes, hello. It is the Self-Publishing Show with James Blatch.
And Mark Dawson.
How are you, Mark Dawson? We've had a heck of a week, have we not?
Yes, it has been a very busy week. Lots of different things going on, both with SPF and books and all kinds of stuff. Yes, this might be a slightly longer podcast than usual.
It is. We're going to be talking all things Instagram today, and we know this is going to be a popular episode because we have a load of free resources and free books, and one of them is written by Stewart Grant. And if you go to selfpublishingformula.com just click on the resources tab, you can download the book, and it is without question our bestseller. It's a book that goes very well every day of the week. Authors know that Instagram is a big, vibrant, important, growing platform, and they need to understand how to use it. So we've got all of that coming up in a moment, but before then, we've got quite a lot to get through before then. The very first thing I'm going to do, Mark, is very important to welcome our new Patreon subscribers. So these are people who've gone to patreon.com/the Self-Publishing Show to support the show and get goodies in return. And they are our new patrons. Corinne O'Flynn from Colorado in the US. Hello, Corinne. Helen Parker Drabble and Greg Evans, our three new Patreon listeners who've joined us this week. Thank you very much indeed. We have occasional live training, usually once a month. We've had two quite close together recently. This week it was about going wide with Kinga Yanetatish. People call her Kinga Genetics, so I can't pronounce her surname. She's great, and she talks not just about whether you should go wide or that big question, but really about making sure that you're doing it properly and maximizing your benefit from it. And she's from Published Driver course. That goes into the shelf for everybody who's a Patreon supporter or a student of our courses, and they can look back at those at any time. And we've got more coming up in the future. Right, that is our Patreon supporters welcomed, and we've got a few things to talk about. Shall we start with SPS Live? Hello, London. It's going to be you and me on stage.
Well, it's going to be you doing that. I'll be much more reserved. Yes, so it's been an interesting week, really. So we... if those who don't know what we're up to, we've been thinking about doing a live event for a while, and we settled on Monday the 9th of March 2020, which is the Monday before London Book Fair, which runs from Tuesday to Thursday. So we thought it was a perfect time to do it. People will be in town for the show anyway. There will be lots of speakers that we can grab from Amazon and from trad publishers, all kinds of options available to us. So we went to speak to Amazon. And Amazon are involved. They're going to sponsor it, and they're going to consult with us on the agenda. So that's great. We then found a venue. So young Tom has been involved, and Lucy actually has recently been involved in trying to find a venue. We found a really nice one, which I could probably say what it is now, given that we're not actually going to be going there. It was going to be the National Gallery in London on Trafalgar Square. They've got a very nice lecture theatre with 328 seats, which we thought was just a nice number. We originally were going to have it in Amazon's offices, but then we realised that it was probably a little bit too big for that. So we got the gallery lined up, and we got the PayPal page ready. We've had a list where people can pre-register, which is still available. And then we on Thursday? Wednesday we made the tickets available. We did it in 2 goes, so 150 the first time, 150 the second time. The first 150 went in less than 5 minutes. The second 150 went in 90 seconds.
Well, first of all, we broke PayPal.
We broke PayPal, yeah. So as soon as the email went out, we kept a look at Google Analytics to see how much traffic was going to the page, and it was like 1,000 visitors at the same time, which basically broke it. So we were getting emails, people, I've stayed up late for this, I can't get a ticket, which obviously we felt dreadful about. There wasn't much we could do, but we did feel very bad about it. And those 2 tranches they sold very quickly. And we've seen comments in the Facebook groups, emails coming to us saying that, I want to come. We've had, I think at the last time on the first tranche, we had 25 Americans coming. Someone's coming from Australia, and I'm sure, I haven't seen the second tranche, but I'm sure that there are more of those people who are actually traveling from a long way away to come and see us. Nataron, which is number one, a bit weird, and number 2, quite flattering. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying that we were surprised by the demand. And so the rest of this week, Tom, me, and Lucy have been ringing around venues in London to try and find somewhere bigger. Even though we're 6 months out, lots of them were taken. But we found about 5. We found about 5 of them. And Tom went to visit one of them yesterday. And I must shout out here to Sarah Weldon in the SPF community, who helped introduce us to the people who run this venue. It is a very big venue. Yeah. I'm not going to say where it is yet, just in case it doesn't come through, but it's 99% going to be there. Tom has visited it. I've seen video. It's very nice. It's in a very trendy part of London. People will know the venue very well. And it's big enough. So we think there's 900 spaces. Yeah, that's where we are. And the next step is me starting to program it. So people have been buying these tickets without knowing who's speaking, which is very nice.
Well, John Dyer will be speaking.
He will be speaking, yes. Or just someone liked us as you said that. So it's £30. So this is not for profit. This is an expensive venue. I mean, the venue itself costs 20 grand pretty much for us to put it on. So we're going to cover our costs. Amazon is sponsoring us as well, and any money that we make in terms of profit will be donated to a reading charity that we'll decide on a bit near the time.
Yeah, and we're not providing food, which becomes an absolute
we're not
headache. I mean, even just doing teas becomes suddenly there's another £15,000 on the bill.
And the rest. I had quotes for 10 grand for a venue, and then when I asked about catering, it became 50 grand. So I was like, okay, next. So no, we're not doing food, but the place the place we're going to hopefully has dozens of restaurants within 30 seconds.
Oh, it's in a great street food area now.
Yeah, it's great for
become
street
a really
food.
good street food area. So I'm quite excited about my choice for lunch. I'm already thinking about it. Anyway, I can't wait till we appear in that spotlight and that Super Trooper. Hello, Seattle. Where are we? We're in London. Hello, London.
Yeah, exactly.
The backstage vibe will be great.
It will.
Be like Ricky Gervais in The Office. Good. Well, I'm very excited about that. And I think you and I, well, you in particular, with your reach and your pool, need to start thinking big about guests, don't we? And
I already have done. So, I mean, without saying too much, I think we're going to have a traditionally published author in the crime genre who sold about 15 million books. And I'm thinking of putting that author together with another author, an indie author in the crime genre who has sold about 5 million books. And I think that would be quite interesting. I'll do a session. And I think with this kind of level of interest and with Amazon backing us, I think it's not impossible that we might be able to get someone like Neil Gaiman or E.L. James or Hugh Howey or even J.K. Rowling. Why not? We could ask, those kinds of people. I think are, and also especially because it's around the fair. People will be in London for the book fair, so I think we've got a good chance.
Well, J.K. Rowling, I've mentioned before, is probably the wealthiest self-published author on the planet because she owns the rights to the to the ebooks of Harry Potter series.
She does. But yesterday, she donated herself out of the Times Top 100 Rich list. Do you know about that?
No, did she?
She gave.
I saw the donation. Yeah.
130 million, I think it was something along those lines to charities looking at dementia and things like that. And I think that took her out of the rich list, which that's amazing.
Yeah,
she's probably made it back now.
Yeah, since we've been recording this, but yeah. Good. Okay, well, that's going to be in London, March the 9th, 2020. It's going to be the first one of maybe will become a regular event. And we should also say that, okay, this is a one-day event, and I know people are flying from Australia and New York and America, but we have coincided it with the week of the London Book Fair. So it's not just if you're going to come over, there's a whole week of stuff that you can absorb. And the London Book Fair is pretty good. I know most of it's kind of irrelevant to us, but the bit that's relevant, the 10 or 15% of it, is really good. So Amazon are there, have a really good presence. You'll find all the, Draft to Digital, Publish Drive, all the sort of accoutrement of the self-publishing
French
community are there. And every day they run these panels, which you take part in, and you'll get people like LJ Ross and so forth, and they are really good. They're excellent discussions and good learning opportunities. So
that's what we're hoping to do. One thing I'm thinking about, just musing on this, is getting some T-shirts.
Yes,
for everyone who goes to the conference. Let's say we had 700 people all in identical T-shirts descending on the book fair on the Tuesday. That would be absolutely ridiculous. It could be something like, we'll do a little competition for what we could have on the T-shirts, but it could be
know
like
how to write, now learn how to sell.
Well, we could do that one, or it could be ask me about my royalties.
Yeah,
that could be a good one. There's plenty of things we could do in terms of just gently taking the rise out of traditional authors and publishers. But anyway.
Okay, what else we've got to talk about? We are going to talk about your publishing. You have published a book this week. In fact, yesterday I think an email dropped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. Yeah, so Bright Lights is the latest Milton book that went out yesterday, and has done very well. So I had nearly 9,000 pre-orders, full price pre-orders for that, which was great. So that they all kind of hit the account, over the last couple of days. So that's been quite nice. It looks like it's going to be a nice positive month in terms of book sales this month, and the book's shot up to in the top 100 both sides of the channel. Both sides of the Atlantic, even, which is
more French.
Always nice to see. Yeah, and in France. Yeah, so that's been great. I've kind of got this down to a fairly fine art now in terms of how I launch. So at the moment, I've only done my list once, so that will be done again next week. I haven't done any Facebook ads yet. I'm going to hopefully get around to those today, although the way today's going, that's possibly not going to happen. Facebook Messenger and all that kind of good stuff, I'll be doing that as well, just to kind of turn on the sales. So yeah, that's all going very well. I love launching. It's always fun to see the rank climb throughout the day.
Yeah.
You'll love launching at some point.
I love launching. I worked out today that I've got 10, if I do 6 chapters of 6 scenes a day revision, I've got 9 days left of revision. If I can double the number of scenes, which is a bit difficult because we're busy at the moment, almost that halves that. And then it's beta readers.
Goodness.
So yes.
Almost there. So by 2020. By
the SPF Live event.
Have the sequel out.
I'm going to set up a little stall with little paperbacks on it.
Well, you probably would sell a few because people are nice and they'll feel pity towards you.
You and I are going to do book signings.
I could do some book signings.
Signings, can we? Okay, talking about meeting us in person, we have 2 opportunities for you to do that in the next couple of weeks. We are going to be, two of us, John Dyer and I, will be in Vancouver on Saturday. So this is going out on the Friday, so the day after this is released, which is Saturday, the 21st of September. We're going to be in a place called the Tap and Barrel, down on the waterfront in Vancouver, British Columbia. I think it's the one associated with an exhibition centre. Just from memory, I think Tap and Barrel might be a franchise. I have a couple of bars across Vancouver. It's the one on the exhibition centre on the riverfront. But you'll see details of it in the community. I've done something in the way I've set up this event that hasn't worked because only Lisa Zampano, who's helped me organise it, and me are going. But I've had lots of emails from people saying that they're looking forward to seeing me there. So
of course you have.
Yeah, I have. We've got loads of people who put their hands up so they want to be interviewed. We are going to be in a hotel room all Saturday interviewing people for SPF, for both the podcast and for our courses. But we'd love to see you. So if you want to come down, and we're happy to buy you a pint if you sell pints in Vancouver that night. So that's Saturday the 21st, day after probably this goes out. At the Tap and Barrel. And following Thursday, the 26th of September in the evening, it'll be the full gamut. It'll be Mark, Young Tom, John, and I will be at NINC, Novelists Incorporated Conference. Now, you don't need a ticket to the conference to attend our drinks. We're going to be in a place called the Shark Tooth Tavern, which is part of the Tradewinds Resort on, what's it called, that beach?
St. Pete Beach.
Yeah, St. Pete Beach, but there's a name for the boulevard anyway. You can find it, Shark Tooth Tavern. And people are successfully telling us that they're going to that event in Facebook. So that event is also listed in our SPF community page. Come and get a selfie with Mark Dawson. Are you going to shave? Or is this
No, because this is a beard, James.
This is
You
your
don't
look.
shave beards.
What point does it go from just unkempt to, oh, it's a beard?
Oh, I've passed that ages ago. This is
It's like the
a fine.
Navy. If you grow a beard in the Navy, you're allowed 3 days. And then they check it and they tell you whether you can carry on or not.
Oh, well, like I'm not in the Navy.
Yeah, but it's starting to look like an RN beard. Okay, have we got anything else to mention before we get into the interview?
No, not really. There's one thing we'll do. I announced in the community last week. I have a print-only deal, which is really, if you've been in the industry long enough, it's a fairly big deal. I'm not just saying that because it's my books. It's the one aspect of the one format from your IP that's the most difficult to monetize effectively, scale it properly, because we don't have, there's distribution, there's printing, there's warehousing, getting into stores, all that kind of stuff is beyond, not impossible, but it's beyond most people. It's certainly to do at any kind of scalable level. And I've been working on a deal with a traditional publisher for quite a while, a couple of years, and I signed it Wednesday this week, something like that. So we will talk about that. I mean, it could even be a full podcast. I think there hasn't been any other real examples of this. Hugh Howey did it a while ago. I think Bella Andre may have done, but not recently. So it could be great. And I think it's the kind of thing that will be more common as publishers become a little more open-minded about how they actually publish stories. So we'll see. If this is successful, who knows? It could be the first of many.
Yeah, it's a sort of missing link, isn't it? That's easy and just box ticking way to distribute your physical thing apart from print on demand. So we do all like bookshops. I know you do point out it's largely irrelevant, and it is because of our how expensive it is and the margins involved in it. But as writers, don't we all love to browse around bookshops? And isn't it a nice thing at least to be able to walk into a bookshop and see your book on the shelf?
Oh, I don't care about the niceness. That's the last thing on my mind. I want to sell.
Unromantic.
It's all about selling books, isn't it? It's a business. It's not for my vanity. And it's difficult for us to do that. And we looked, my brother and I, and also an SPFer who works for Waterstones up in Scotland. We were looking at doing a print run of the first couple of Milton books, and then he thought he could get them into Waterstones, and then as a proof of concept, see whether we could actually sell some books. And the margins were so slim. The margins were almost nothing. It was just very, very difficult because we weren't doing it at a big scale. If you run a 50,000 print run, it's going to be a lot cheaper per book than running a 500 copy print run, and it just didn't work. And I didn't want 50,000 copies of my books in my garage, particularly. No. Even though it's a great book, but yeah.
And we should also remember that one of the eco benefits from print on demand is it's a much more friendly, resource friendly way of doing things than printing 25,000 copies of a book and hoping you sell them. Okay. Good. Well, we'll do something on that when it's developed a bit and you've got some figures, and if it's something you're going to start recommending to people, and maybe there's something that could be rolled out to authors of a certain band, I guess, in the future. Should just mention, we talked last week about the photo shoot that I was preparing to do. This is part of, I was taking advantage of an emerging sideline that's spun off from Stuart Baish's cover design. We should say congratulations to Stuart Baish, because he has had a little boy this week, or his wife actually, Natasha, had the little boy, and he is called Magnus. So well done. Happy for you, Stuart, and enjoy your few days. I know you don't get many days off, so enjoy those with your new infant. But also announced this week in the busy world of him is tie up with John Weston. Now, John Weston is an SPFer actually, who was in the Middle East, moved back to the UK. He's British. He's a photographer. He loves his photography, and they've set up something called the indiestock.com, which is with Stuart. Now, John is the photographer who has a studio in Lincolnshire, and he is helping Stuart to build up a repository of figures and images, particularly models in particular era clothing, that's going to work well on the front cover of books, because I think Stuart was getting a bit frustrated with some of those stock images being nearly right but not quite. So I mentioned last week I took advantage of this because I had a very difficult to obtain image, and bought the stuff, and I was the model. We can show some pictures. I'll send them to John the editor. You can put them up now, John, of me looking dapper and amazing and completely covered up. in my helmet, oxygen mask, and my Mae West.
And I think we will tell listeners what the Mae West actually, why it's called a Mae West after the interview, because I'm just looking at my camera, James, and I'm going to run out in about 10 seconds.
Okay.
So we better get into it.
All right. Well, we've got a minute, I think, to introduce the interview, and then we'll talk about Mae West, which is worth talking. There's a couple of things about her in particular. Okay, let us go on to this interview. It's about Instagram. It's with Stewart Grant. Many of you will know Stuart's been on before, and he's part of the SPF team here in the background that helps get this particular podcast out into the world. And Stewart is a real guru on Instagram. He provides a service as well to this, which he talks about. But this is about a platform that is growing rapidly, that is fun. It's actually quite easy to use, and it's something that as authors we need to be aware of. So let's talk to Stewart.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Okay, here he is. He's cleaning. What are you cleaning your glasses? This is
I want to be able to see you, James.
There was an iconic moment in English Test cricket recently, wasn't there, where the non-striking batsman, who was not a batsman, was a bowler, had to hang on for dear life at the end of a Test match. And there's these images. There's an oil painting already of him cleaning his glasses in between deliveries. It was you don't follow cricket, so
no. You've lost me, but it sounds wonderful.
And neither does 98% of the audience, but they should do, because it's the world's greatest game. Stewart Grant, welcome back to the Self-Publishing Show. No stranger to these environs.
No, number 3. This is. I think I'm catching up with the other Stewart. Stewart Bache. So yeah, this is number 3. I think I first of all talked about apps, and then we talked about websites.
Yes, I remember we spoke in Cambridge, didn't we? Sunny Cambridge, with ice creams the first time before we had video. And you are a member of our team, we should say. You work in the background. You're part of the team that gets this very show out into the ether, pressing buttons with iTunes and things all over the place. But so we're grateful for that, and it's a bit of a team effort. Quite a lot goes into. People don't realise how many buttons you have to press to get a podcast out every week.
There is a lot of gears turning, I have to say, each week, and sometimes it can be more stressful than others. Yeah. But we get there every week, and what a product! It gets better, I think, every time. So it's a pleasure to be part of it. It's great to see people getting involved and all the feedback and stuff online. So
excellent.
Great to be here. Thank you.
And as part of our family, and people who know you on social media will know that you've had a bit of a life event has happened to you over the last 6 months. And I know that you're sharing some of this. So I'm just going to ask you a little bit about it at the beginning. If you want to just tell us how this rather, I guess shocking is the word for you when it happened to you.
Sure. Yeah. Major year. I had a baby and got married, which was brilliant. And in the midst of all that, in February, I was diagnosed with a brain tumour after having a very slight hearing loss. I then went to the doctors. There was no correlation between the hearing loss, but they found the brain tumour via doing an MRI scan. So, was in hospital within a few weeks, having it removed. I've done 6 weeks of radiotherapy. I'm now in the middle of chemotherapy. But all good. Prognosis is good. And, it's all about staying positive and getting on with life. And, I'm good. I'm fine. I feel fine.
Yeah.
So,
you look fine.
Shock.
For somebody who's in the midst of chemotherapy, you look amazing, by the way, and your energy levels. And also, I think I just want to say the way that you have your sort of attitude to everything. I think personally, my thing is to curl up in a corner and crumble. And I take immense inspiration from seeing somebody like you smiling in the face of what can be a very traumatic experience for any of us.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not easy, I suppose, but I think honestly, all the health professionals that I've spoken to have assured me that it's half the battle, going in with a positive mind. And if you go in broken, you'll come out broken. So, and it's not always easy, but so here I am, and kind of on the other side and feeling fine. So thank you very much for that, James. Yeah.
Fantastic. I've allowed my phone to ding and interrupt us then, because I've got my phone, because we are talking today about Instagram. And we should say at the beginning that you wrote a book for us on Instagram, and it's gone really well. So we do a lot of sort of social media advertising, as you'd expect SPF to do. It's not just about Mark's books or my book. Your book. It's also about building SPF as a brand and finding new audience. And we use Facebook ads extensively. And your book is a very, very strong lead magnet for us. And that says to me that people are sensing that Instagram is a thing they need to be doing.
Yeah. I mean, it is the fastest growing social media platform. It last time we spoke, actually, I think there was 800,000 users on it. There's now 1 billion,
Huh.
well over 1 billion actually. So the partnership between Instagram and Facebook is growing stronger every day. So if you use Facebook for your business, whatever that might be, it makes sense to have at least an understanding of Instagram. I mean, they have actually rebranded. They are now Instagram by Facebook. So it makes sense to have that understanding of both platforms. And I think they are driving their platform to be about the story. And as authors, that is a gift, because that is what you do. That is what we do, tell stories.
Yeah.
And so if you can get that into your head and use it for that purpose, it should be a very natural and organic strategy for you.
And if it is working, if you are telling stories, what are the benefits for authors?
There's a huge community on Instagram of readers and writers, and the benefit to you is to obviously hopefully sell more books, create more of a tribe, and find people that enjoy your content. Now, we know from every platform that buy my stuff does not work. This has to be about and I know you both hate this word, but this has to be about your journey, and the story of you as an author. Now, obviously, it's slightly more difficult if you are writing under a pen name, but we'll just put that to one side for a moment, assuming that most people are writing in a way that they can share stuff about what they're doing. The benefit for using Instagram is it's very visual, it's very fast, it's uncluttered, it doesn't have all the shonk that a lot of the other platforms do. It's not as maybe political as Twitter, and it's not as full of rubbish as Facebook in many ways. So it's a nice platform to concentrate on. It's also, I think, not as pressured. You don't have to post as often as you might do on other networks. So
okay,
pressure's off.
That's interesting, and we'll get into some of that in a moment, some of the sort of the do's and don'ts of using the platform successfully. But is it something, should we get this out of the way at the beginning? There is a paid advertising platform on Instagram, of course, that commercially drives it. Is that something authors need to be getting into?
I would think it is something that they would be looking at or should be looking at. It's actually not a pay-to-play platform, but there is the opportunity to, boost posts, create adverts in the same way that it is on Facebook. But I would, and this is a guess, my feeling is that people are not using it to its full capability at the moment. And so advertising on Instagram is probably cheaper and less difficult than you might imagine. So it would be a great time to, be the start of it,
Yeah.
So get in there now while it's cheap and establish your position. That would be my real advice.
Good. Okay, we've done a bit of experimenting with it, and it is in its infancy, I think, the ads platform still, and but it's going to take a little bit, I think, for us and for others to come up with a formula that's going to be one that we can say, yep, now's the time to put money into it. At the moment, we haven't found the sort of cost per lead returns yet, but like I say, it's a shaping platform, and one of the variables in that equation is how many people you can access, and that's gone up dramatically, as you pointed out at the beginning of the interview. That's gone up dramatically recently, so we should perhaps have a delve back into that. Okay, so anyway, regardless of the paid ads, I just wanted to part that at the moment so people understand we're largely talking about organic use at the moment. And you talked about building up your tribe, and how important is that to have this loyal, enthusiastic followers when it comes to do things, for instance, like launch your book and get your book moving in the algorithms and all the things that as indies we know is important at the beginning stage. So should we focus on building up a following on Instagram? Are you going to give us the magic sauce here, Stuart, of how to do this?
I am actually, yeah. And there is one. Anybody that tells you they know the algorithms of Instagram is lying. So don't believe anyone that does. But there are certain things that are clear and obvious. So, I can share those from my experience, and people may disagree. But, in terms of building a tribe or an audience on Instagram or any platform, I do believe, and I can't remember who says it, but, you can change the world with 1,000 people. So if you've got 1,000 people on Instagram and 1,000 people on Twitter and 1,000 people on Facebook, suddenly that's enough to really, rocket your book launches or anything that you're doing. It's an incredible amount of people who can be on your side. And Instagram is a place where you can find some of those people. There are keen readers, there are accounts dedicated to certain genres of books. And okay, we'll cut straight to the chase. Grow your account by giving love and getting love back. And by that, I mean, so, if I want somebody to get to understand I'm there, I need them to see me. So I've got to get their attention. So let's take, I don't know, Lee Child as an example. He doesn't have an Instagram account, but if he did, and I was a writer in a similar genre to him, I wouldn't necessarily be chasing after Lee Child. I would be chasing after his followers, because I know a couple of things about those people. I know they like thrillers because they like Lee Child. And I know that they're willing to show their appreciation for his work because they've liked or commented on his posts. So they're the people that I go after. So if you are a romance author or a sci-fi author or a thriller author, find other accounts in your niche, but don't worry about them. Look at the people that follow them, like and comment on their content and say, hey, that's great. I love that sunset. I love your dog, whatever it might be. Be authentic. Don't like stuff you don't like, but have a relationship in that sense with those people, because then they're going to say, oh, who's that's just liked my stuff? Oh, he or she is an ex-writer that I love. And they then might come over and like or comment on your stuff. And it is that two-way street. Unfortunately, it is time consuming, but it really does supercharge the growth of your account.
So, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. To quote Lennon and McCartney, I think it was probably McCartney wrote that.
I've teared up. Sorry.
Yeah. I know. You're lucky I didn't sing it, actually. That would have,
That's true.
I would have brought the house down. Okay, and yes, we kind of know, and Twitter works in a similar way. You follow back. There are some sort of cynical practices on Twitter. You see people who follow you, you follow them, then they unfollow you a couple of days later, and don't think we don't notice that, you people who do that. And sometimes you follow people and the next day you get 15 posts about their political opinions. You think, I might not follow them so much. So, you have to kind of find your way and be authentic about it. There's no point, as you say, in liking things you don't genuinely like. You've got to build an account that feels right for you. Now, one thing I was thinking is that I have quite broad tastes. I think, I like my cricket, and I actually do like politics, like follow a bit politicians, not gobby politicians, but nice politicians. And I obviously have military aircraft behind me as a passion and also my genre. So should I be focusing my Instagram account around my author career and really narrowing it down to that area, to the military aviation area, at the expense of perhaps one I would enjoy following David Gower, and he's a cricketer, and other people like that?
Okay, it's an age-old question. I think it comes down to time and how much you can be asked.
Okay.
If you want to run 2 accounts or more, then go for your life. It's time-consuming and we haven't got time for it necessarily. So my answer to most people is, look, try and blend the two. Yeah. Your story as an author is that you like military aircraft, but actually you also like cricket. That's fine. As a reader, I'm interested to know that you like those things. In your case, I'm not really, but no, I am.
You can pretend,
but, that's the story of you, and therefore I'm interested in whatever it might be that you are into, even if I'm not into it as well. Okay, great. James is into cricket. So by all means, put that stuff into your Instagram account as well. And I think, if we take it to somebody, if you put yourself in the subject, I don't know, of a singer that you're a fan of or an author, we would all want to know more about their lives. We're inquisitive beings. We don't just want to know what the next cover of their book looks like. That is dull, ultimately, in the end. It is about what they're doing, who they spend their time with, what they're eating, what their pets, all that stuff.
The believers want to know everything about Justin.
Exactly. Yeah, although then they probably never will. But, no. I think, in your position, the other way to look at this as well is that to create a community on Instagram, there's another way to do this, actually. And it's one thing that we did that's made, what we're doing fairly successful, is that we created the platform of followers before we created the business. So by that, I mean, in your instance, for example, you could create or use your Instagram account to find that community of other people who are interested in the same kind of era of military aircraft or whatever as you, without mentioning the book or that you're an author, but you just kind of post some interesting footage or photos. You connect with people that are interested in that genre by looking for them or finding them. And then when you've got your 1,000 or your 2,000 or your 3,000 followers, then you can start to introduce the kind of commercial side of it. So we did that with dogs. Basically, we created an account for our dog. We're now at over 20,000 followers for her.
Wow.
So now, yeah, and without a business side to it, and now is the time that we can start to introduce the commercial side of it, which might be, a shop that sells dog products or whatever, because we built the platform first. And there are lots of people doing that on Instagram. So if as an author you have a particular niche, this might be a side hustle, but you might be interested in introducing an account that is about your interest and growing the platform, then the business. But you could do that through your author career as well.
Okay, so sticking to sort of areas that are relevant, growing your audience organically, not saying buy this, and looking out for not necessarily the kind of leaders, the other main authors, but their followers is a way to start building out that community. So I'm amazed you went through, not amazed, it makes it sound like I'm amazed that you achieved something, but it's very impressive that you went from 0 to 20,000 followers for your dog. And that was basically following these steps, was it?
Exactly that. That was all I did. Found other accounts that were dog accounts, and then followed, liked, and commented on their followers, because as I said earlier, I know that they like dogs and that they are willing to show their appreciation. So I want them to follow and like me. And yeah, the account grew, and we then developed another business out of that and applied the same principles. And that is how it really, if you just keep posting. That is one strategy, but you're never going to get anyone's attention, because it's, as we know with Facebook, it only goes so far. And I think the guesstimate is that if you post something on Instagram, it will only hit about 8% of your followers.
Right. And so how often during the day, I mean, how much work did it take for you to engage with other doggy people on Instagram to grow your account?
That's probably taken us about 24 months or so. And it's been probably, what can I call it? Bus time, toilet time, whatever. Yeah. It's the time that you've got that is cooking the dinner. I wouldn't say I sat down for any structured amount of time during the day and did this stuff, but I just pick up the phone, like a couple of accounts, like a couple of photos, drop some comments in, and then move on.
Yeah.
And you try it will work. I it's an almost Stewart Grant guarantee that out of 5 or 10 people that you do that to, a number of them will come back and reciprocate, and you will grow your account. And that's how we did it, essentially.
Great.
And I'm seeing other people use that and do that too.
We love the Stewart Grant guarantees. Okay, right. Shall we talk a little bit about posting, because posting is different on Instagram. And things I love, I might have to say, we'll talk about demographics in a bit, but my daughter's a big Insta person. I run a bit of comms for my local cricket club. There, I mentioned cricket again. And I didn't do Instagram for it. So my daughter's recently said, I'm going to run the club Insta account. And she naturally knows more about it than I do, probably as much as you do, and is already building up and engaging followers on it. But one thing I noticed that she instinctively understands about Instagram is it's a visual medium. It's about the image.
Completely. Yeah, it's image and video. However, don't let that put anyone off. You don't have to be the world's greatest photographer, and actually with the advent of these amazing phones now, you can take photos that look like they've been taken professionally. Yes. Our very own John Dyer takes the most incredible photos.
He does. We should give his Insta account a shout, because he does amazing pictures. I always get him to do the pictures when we're away.
They're beautiful, and they are just with a smartphone. So don't let the fact that it is that it is pictures and videos put you off if you're not naturally photographically minded. I'm not particularly.
No, I'm trying to find his account because I can't find it now. But maybe we'll find it before the end of the interview. But yeah, he's definitely one to follow. So taking pictures, and you say you don't have to be the world's greatest photographer. There's these filters built into Instagram which can make, a picture of your dog sitting on the grass look amazing.
Exactly.
And now I remember this. We've had Instagram as a subject, of course, it's an important area for authors on the podcast several times. And I can remember making a bit of a faux pas with somebody who talked about hashtags. And I was, oh, it's terrible. These people who put all these hashtags in the post. And she said, yeah, that's exactly what you're supposed to do in Instagram, which I do see now. But so you've got your image, your nice image, and you can have a little caption, and then you can actually separate out the hashtags. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. And, again, there's two schools of thought. There is absolutely no definite answer to this. It comes down to preference mainly. But what I do is I will always edit a photo, just a very slight edit to bring it, just make it sing and pop. Then write a caption. And don't be afraid to write more than you would probably feel you want to, in a way. It's not just about the one sentence. You can write a lot more in your description, and actually people do read it. So think of it as maybe a little mini blog. You can micro blog underneath the caption of so if you do release a picture of your book or something, you can write a little bit more about who you used to design it, what the ideas were behind it. Tell me something about it. Although it is a visual medium, and this is actually somewhere my thinking has changed quite considerably, I do think there is a lot of engagement in terms of what you write in the caption. So don't be afraid to write more than a sentence or two.
I'm somebody who always reads the captions.
Exactly. And there are a lot of people like you. So, always write more than you feel you should or might be inclined to, because it will pay off. And then in terms of the hashtags, I love this question. I live and die by hashtags. And they are the lifeblood of Instagram. And Instagram allows you to put 30 hashtags on your content. Now, my understanding and belief is go for it. Put 30 on there. They wouldn't give you 30 if they didn't want you to use 30. They're not going to punish you for using 30 if they have created it in the first place. So anyone that tells you, 5 is enough or whatever, it may be enough, but you've got 30, so use them. If you want that content to live and breathe and to go as far as it possibly can, then use as many as you can. And there's strategies in the book, actually, if you haven't got the book already, about how to construct those hashtags. And it's actually very simple. There's 5 kind of categories that I use. One is the action, what's going on in the thing, in the picture, who you are, what the environment is, what time it is, and another one that I can't remember. But essentially, if you get 5, of each of those, then you've got your 30. And very quickly you can get, some changes to certain words. So if you're an author who writes in romance, you could have, author in romance, writers of romance, authors who write romance, writers of romance. Just by changing the odd word here and there, you can very quickly populate those 30 hashtags. So don't let that put you off.
And the importance of doing this is what?
The importance is that they are searchable within Instagram, and they join all the other content with those hashtags. And therefore, it's important to push your content as far as you can. My kind of strategy is get your content into as many pots, if you like, on Instagram as you can. So you want it to go into the main feed. You want it to go into wherever it can go in the hashtags. You want it to go into your story. You want it to go to as many places as possible and that are available on Instagram. And the hashtag is by far and away the thing that will send it the furthest. It will join, all of the other hashtags, and people do search for it. So think of a reader. A reader might search romance author. So you want to be there when they search that. You want to be, even if the piece of content you've posted last wasn't necessarily anything about romance writing, you as a person are a romance author. So don't be afraid to include that hashtag when you put your content out, because there's a chance it could be found. And a lot of this is searchable by Google as well. So, if somebody searches your phrasing or your genre or whatever, there is a chance that Google will bring that up as well. So it's just about increasing your chances of being found, ultimately.
Okay. Let's talk about engagement. So you've talked about going off and engaging with other people's accounts. What about comments or any engagement with your account? Do you follow people back? Do you respond to comments?
Absolutely, 100%. Always respond to comments. It's a bit like you talking to me now and me looking the other way.
You're like that. You just say, I've done enough of the blatch today. Someone else gets me now.
But that would feel odd, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. It would be out of character.
And it's the same on social media, on any platform, and Mark is amazing at this. I don't know where he gets his time, but he will reply to every message that he gets on Facebook on his page. And
you do see people getting this wrong as well. So Mark's a good example of getting it right. But I follow people, and occasionally I'll comment on some. I won't actually mention them, a bit naming and shaming, but somebody who occasionally says, I'm thinking about doing this next in their chosen field. What do you think? Promoting engagement, then doesn't respond to anyone. And she does it all the time. And I'm thinking, what part of this don't you understand? And I'm to the point, Chloe, I like her work. I'm to the point soon of unfollowing her because that's not the point of that conversation. It's for her just to grandstand and then probably not even read what people have commented on. You do see that quite a lot, actually. People just ignore comments, ignore likes, ignore follows. And they're not, if you're Ricky Gervais, that's fine. But if you're somebody with 2,000 or 3,000 followers in a small field, you should be actively having that conversation.
The clue is in the title, isn't it? It's social media. I mean, it's there. And, I run some stuff where I live around some small businesses, and we have networking and things. And I always respond to comments on everything I can find. And it's amazing how when I walk into a room, people go, oh, that's Stu. I know you. Where have I seen you? Oh, you're the guy that's on, because of me just dropping the odd line underneath people's stuff.
Yeah.
I do it on my friends' stuff just to stay in their minds. It's just about being, and yes, it's time consuming. And I know we're all, I've got a 1-year-old child, a dog, a new wife and some medical stuff, but I'm still having to find that time. And, you can. So be encouraged to get in there and just reply to people and drop comments and be nice.
Yeah.
That's what this is about. It's about growing your community. And, I think that is part of Mark's success as well, obviously, with all the other stuff. But because he's so nice to his listeners, his readers, they respond to that. It is a two-way street. So, and
it only takes one person to have an interaction with them to feel closer to you, to feel more loyal to you as a person, to feel a little bit like they've got some sort of communication with you, some sort of connection with you is the word I'm looking for, and for them to start mentioning that to other people. And on the other hand, blanking somebody who's gone to the effort of responding to something you've prompted, and it turned out probably just a bot tweet that was put up ages ago or post, can have the opposite effect, because somebody like me can say, well, I wouldn't actually bother following that person. So, and I do remember Stephen Fry, who has like some gazillion, I don't know if he's been on and off Twitter for various reasons, but I think last time I looked, he had 2 million followers. He's probably got 10 million now. He responded, in those early days of Twitter, he responded to every single person who commented, including me at one point. When I sent him something I thought he'd be interested in, and he replied. And that was treasured by me, and I'm a big fan, of course, of his. Immediately feel he's my best friend. Now, he did get to a point where he had to say publicly, I can't do it anymore, because he spent an hour and a half, 2 hours every evening doing it, and suddenly he had 1 million followers, and he just couldn't do it because he had 10,000 comments every day. But if it's not too much for Stephen Fry with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers, it's not too much for you or me. So be interactive, be polite, of course. Don't get into rows or fights, which some people do, as Ricky Gervais again. But that interaction, that's what it's all about. And that's when it works at its best, when Twitter works at its best. When Barack Obama followed me back, that was a big day for me.
Wow!
Yeah,
did he?
I'm followed by Barack Obama and Alistair Campbell. They're my two big. I sort of did kind of know Alistair Campbell briefly when I was a reporter, so I think that's why he noticed me. And Barack Obama, I think, was just at that point where they were building up their social media following by following people who followed them to try and spread it out. And I got lucky at that point. So I noticed the other day I was looking, and there was somebody I was looking at to see how we knew each other. So you're looking at the people you both follow, and it said. You both follow Barack Obama, and next to Barack Obama's name, it said, Barack Obama follows you. So it still follows me.
Awesome.
I don't think he's taken any notice of any of the suggestions I've made for making the world better. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
What does he know?
Yeah, what does he know? So By the way, I'm not taking sides in American politics. He was just the president of America and everyone was following him as a big social media. Because last time I mentioned something about politics, people, by the way, got my politics completely wrong. But a couple of people emailed in and said, oh, enough of your bloomin' politics. But he was just president, right? The office of president, I respect. Did I get that? Okay, good. So, engagement.
Hashtags.
Hashtags. What else have I missed? Oh, demographics. I want to ask you about demographics. So, is Instagram still a young person's platform?
As I said at the beginning, there's 1 billion people on this platform and growing, and therefore there is no, your readers are on this platform in some shape or form. Okay, so it's huge. So I would not get into that brain space. Just go for it. Let them find you and find them, because they are there. It is probably slightly younger, but it's definitely getting older. 32%, these were the latest stats I found from 2018. 32% of Instagram users are aged between 18 and 24. But that equates to 320 million people. But here we go. 9% of users are 45 to 54. And that's millions of people.
Yeah. And it's worth pointing out that so if you like, my demographic, I think for my readership is going to be older, probably male, but I'm not sure. It's worth pointing out those people who are on Instagram, on that group, are ones most likely to be owning a Kindle and buying an ebook and buying stuff off Amazon. They're the right. I'm a 52-year-old and quite tech savvy, and I'm the sort of person who people would want to be following them because I'm most likely to buy their product.
Yeah, great point. That is really good. And, again, we talked earlier about people wanting to share pictures of the photos of, like the one behind you and others, so they're going to be on there because it's a place where they can safely share those kind of images in your instance. So yeah, I think don't get hung up on demographics. There's no such line as my audience isn't on Instagram. They are.
Yeah, if it's a billion people, you only need a small percent of that to be very profitable. If the 9% of people in my demographic bought my book, I'd retire. So
exactly.
Okay, right. So what else have we missed? I think we've covered quite a lot of the big areas.
Yeah, the main thing I guess I should really mention is stories, just very quickly, because just kind of top line things here. Just, I recommend that you post every other day, but stories are the new thing. They have taken the world by storm. We're all familiar with what they are now. I hope the sort of long vertical video that we see on Facebook was started with Snapchat, but has been absolutely obliterated by Instagram. And that is the kind of new way of communicating. And, from what I can see, it's going to just explode. And if you are thinking about advertising, that would be a great place to start, actually. Try some stories. My advice in terms of advertising in that instance would be make sure those stories are authentic. So don't make them look like ads. So they did a big study, somebody, I say they, I can't remember who, but, where there was the picture of a trainer on a white background, it did really badly. Where there was the image of the cool dude wearing the shoe on a skateboard, it went nuts. So think about that kind of analogy when you're creating stuff, when you're selling on Instagram. It's about the reality of it. And as I mentioned at the beginning as well, this is about stories. It's about telling your story. So, once every other day in terms of your main feed, but if you can, as many times as you can, basically on a story. So, just like now, I can just do a quick, just jump on. Oh, John Dyer's. I found John Dyer's was Jack 9903. By the way.
Oh yes, yeah.
So I can just jump on, and I'm going to hit my story there, and I'm just going to create a little story of you and I. Okay.
Do you want me to do something?
No, that's absolutely fine. There we go.
You don't want my dancing. We could do me watching you, watching me, watching you.
I'm going to just post this one anyway. So I've created a very short story there, and I'm just going to quickly post it to my account. Done.
So I've not done a story before.
Okay, so you access that by clicking your profile picture on the top left.
Okay. Oh yes. Oh yeah. Okay. Right.
And that opens Instagram's internal camera, which has loads of different stuff you can play around with.
Okay.
Thank you, Instagram, for giving us a little video editor. Yep, that's the one.
So if people are watching the YouTube video, I'm going to put this into screen now. So it's now a video camera. So it's very difficult to control this looking at it in my hand. So what can I change on here? Are there filters
so if you take a photo just by pressing that button. Yep. And then at the very top, once you've got your photo, you'll see a little smiley face.
Oh, yes. Press that.
With a fold. Not that one, the other one, sorry.
Oh, this one. Oh, yeah, gotcha.
Yep. And then that gives you loads of options in terms of stuff. So you can put the location you're at. You can mention me because I'm on the podcast. You could do a hashtag.
So I hit mention. And what's your...
Stewart Grant UK. So that should bring me up. I think you're following me. Yeah. I'm not quite Barack Obama, but... There we go. So, and then that I will then get a notification to say that you have shared a picture with my.
Okay.
There we go.
And that's it. That story's gone. And there's unlike, so I now have to choose how I share it because that's a thing that confused me a bit at the beginning of Instagram. So you can do a post just to one person, which I guess is the same on Twitter and Facebook. Well, Twitter. But we want to be sharing
just click the top one. It should say your
share
story.
with your story rather than close friends only or individuals.
Yep.
And that's done.
Gosh.
So with that story, I don't get in that circumstance to type any comments or hashtags.
No, you can. We just didn't get that far.
Okay.
There's just where we were there with the little smiley face. There's the option to write text. You can add music. You can put your location. You can do 101 things. There's filters.
And it can be video as well, of course.
Video, up to 15 seconds. It's insane. It's literally a little video editing tool inside the camera. So, have a play. You can't break it. And it is certainly the thing that people are beginning to use. You can do different layouts with your photos. You can do video and picture. It's an incredible bit of kit.
Yeah.
And I just encourage you to play with it, but use it as often as you can. A couple of times a day would be a great start.
Yes. Okay.
But just literally pointing it doesn't have to be well produced. It doesn't have to be a beautiful photo. It can just be, here's my coffee cup, or here's my microphone, or here's the bit of work I'm doing, or whatever it is. Here's a picture of my dog. Just the story of you. That's what we're looking for here.
Okay.
Tell me about you.
I'm feeling energized, like I always do after I have these conversations, and I must follow it up because Instagram is the one. I'm drawn to Twitter. I love Twitter. I've said before, it's my platform. A lot of my friends just don't like Twitter. They're not on it. They don't get it. They like Facebook, whatever. I'm a Twitter guy. I do a bit of Facebook as well, but Instagram, every time I'm on it, I like it. And yet I'm struggling to bring it into my routine. I'm struggling it for when I have my washing up time, toilet time, whatever. I'm struggling for Instagram to be the one I go to, but I need to remember because I do enjoy it. I want to ask you about scheduling because this is something that as businesses or people with a slightly more professional approach to our social media, this is an area that can be very helpful to us if you still have that sincerity in your posts, which is where you can sit down and batch up some posts and then schedule them to go. Is that something that's easy to do in Instagram?
You can't actually do it inside Instagram. There are third-party, loads of them, tools. But if you don't know already, there is a new thing inside Facebook called Facebook Creator. And you can schedule all of your videos and posts from inside Facebook for Facebook, but they've just introduced, I think it was launched about 2 weeks ago, the same for Instagram.
Wow.
So now you can schedule all of your posts and everything
in Facebook Creator, and you can have them just for Instagram.
Correct.
So I could do that on a desktop because I'm in my 50s and I have to work on a desktop. I can't do everything on a phone.
In fact, it doesn't work on a phone at the moment, so it is only on desktop. But if you haven't found it yet, then do a Google search. I think it's something like business.com/Facebook Creator or something, and it will come up and you have to sign in, and then it adds to your kind of Facebook profile. Yeah. And then you can go in and schedule, whatever you want, anything. So from your Facebook posts all the way through to and there's something a little bit more organic and authentic, I suppose, about using a third-party tool that is actually Facebook, you know. So there are plenty out here. There's Buffer and Crowdfire and all the usual sort of suspects. But the Facebook Creator does allow you to schedule stories and Instagram TV and all this sort of stuff. So it's a great little tool.
Superb. I'm going to do some scheduling. So I've had ideas. I've had good ideas. I mean, I've got my dad's flying logbooks, which I absolutely love. If your father was a pilot, one of the great things is your logbook. You know what he was doing every day for about 15 years of his life. There's the dates. And I have thought time and time again, I should just do a post on that day, like 16th of August, he flew Vulcan XH433 from Bassingbourn to Cambridge, and try and find a picture of the aircraft. And I would be interested in that sort of thing. I'd be interested in, and a very small niche of other people would be interested in, but they'd be my people.
That is gold dust. That is exactly what you should and could be doing, and what an offering to your audience. That is absolutely jewel in the crown stuff. So there is people looking for that stuff, and absolutely, if you have access to anything like that, I would think that for you particularly, there is an audience out there to be had on Instagram. And
that's why I was asking really about scheduling, because I can't imagine finding the time every day to do that on the phone, or even doing it easily on the phone, just because the logistics of putting a couple of photographs together. But sitting down for a couple of hours and scheduling a month's worth of posts, I'm up for that.
And as I said, if you post every other day on your feed, that is actually only 15 photos.
Yeah. And then I'm still posting organically as I go along.
Exactly. On top of that, you haven't actually got to find a huge amount. And don't be afraid to post the same thing twice or different variations on it. You had your suit fitting yesterday, didn't you?
I did. Yes, I should have definitely posted that. I've got some pictures from it, so I could do that. I'll do that after this, because they went on different platforms. And yes, I did a cover shoot in my fetish RAF gear from the 1960s. Good. Look, we should say a couple of things. So first of all, the book that you've written for SPF is available if you go to the selfpublishingformula.com website and look under the resources tab. You'll see that all our books are there, including Stewart's Instagram book. And you are offering to do some consultation for people, paid consultation, but a low rate to get people going and starters. How much will it cost, and what can people expect to get from that?
I mean, if people don't have the time to sit and work all this out in great detail or even read the book, I do. That's part of what I do as part of my business anyway, is offer consultations for businesses to get them kick-started, really, to kind of take you from not really necessarily knowing everything there is to know to knowing a lot more. So, it's a case of if you want to catch me on Instagram, it's Stewart Grant UK, or you can go to my website, which is instagramninjas.com, and we can talk about maybe an hour or so of my time for about $50, and I can really take you through your bespoke kind of account and see where we can help you to improve it, optimize it, see what you're missing, all that kind of stuff, just on a visual kind of Skype or whatever, a one-to-one.
Superb. Stuart, love you, long time, $50. Well, for half now. Okay, look, I think we've covered all the main areas. I know the book is detailed. Actually, the editing phase of the book went on longer than we both expected, just because there's a lot of detail to Instagram that we haven't touched on. We're not going to be able to in a 45-minute or even hour long interview on the podcast. So the book is really worth having a look at the moment. Is it a platform that changes a lot, Stuart? It's the bane of our lives when we teach platforms and write books and so on.
Well, yeah, it is. And, as we were writing the book, they launched Instagram TV, which I know we haven't talked about too much, but is basically the long form version of stories. So it's video over 60 seconds. And we had to introduce that at the last minute to the book, and they have made changes since. So it's not 100% up to date, because there's just tiny little kind of logistical changes that are bound to happen. But, we'll try and update that as time goes on. And
the broad principles are all there, and a lot of the detail is right. And that's just an occupational hazard of being in this area. If you look at any training on any social media platform, you'd be surprised if it's identical to what you're looking at. Okay, Stuart, brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We've had a fantastic chat. It's flown by, and I know on behalf of everyone, they're going to want to say best of luck with your continued treatment. I know you've got 5 more rounds of chemo, which can be punishing, but you look amazing at the moment.
Oh, thank you. I have a really nice battle scar there. They've gone in, but feeling fine, and I really appreciate this time. It's great to be back on the podcast, and thanks for all your support, guys.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Okay, there you go. A really great interview with Stuart. I want to thank him very much for that. And I do feel very enthused about the Instagram platform. Are you a big Instagrammer, Mark?
Not massively, I have to say. Lucy is, but it's you can only pick so many, and my focus is mostly on Facebook.
Well, look, I tell you what, for a little bit, let's see if we can do something very meta and do an Instagram live into the podcast. If I go live on this, checking connection, you're now live. So this is James from the Self-Publishing Show. Oh, yes. Okay, there you go. Look, don't do that, 'cause it's all going to go completely wrong if you're rebroadcasting us. We're going to go round and round and round. This is what it looks like when we're recording the Self-Publishing Show. This is live. This is going to go out next Friday. We've just been talking Instagram with Stewart. If I put it round this way, you can see me. Hello, this is me. That's the screen I check my picture on. That's how I talk to Mark. Mark's now tugging his beard, which means, I don't know, he's confused.
No, I'm not confused. Just looking into your shed to see.
Oh, are you? And this is my browser. There in the background is the spreadsheet with all the interviews coming up. I'm not going to show that because we might change those around in the future. But we're talking Instagram, and if you're an author and you're not using Instagram, you will want to listen to next Friday's episode with Stewart Grant, because it's about this platform, how important it is, actually how fun and easy it is as well. And there's even, if you do listen next week, there's going to be a description of Mae West, isn't there, which is coming up in a moment.
Yes, very true. Yes,
we're going to talk about Mae West. Okay, we're going to leave that. I'm going to leave this live now. Thank you very much indeed. If you've watched us for a few minutes, this is a recording session that we need to carry on with to get this podcast out next week from the Self-Publishing Show. People waving. So, oh, that's you waving. And Hazel's waving. I'm waving back. Okay, there we go. I'm going to end this podcast live into podcast. We could do this again maybe and plan it better in the future. And
I'm going to end this podcast.
We're going to carry on. You're going to end it. No, we're going to carry on.
191 episodes and done. There
right.
we go.
Next week, Friday, whatever it is next week, is going to be this episode. You can watch yourself on this.
So if everyone who's listening on the podcast, I'm really not quite sure how I can explain what James has just done. He's tried to do an Instagram story live, I think, and it seems to work pretty much, but probably wasn't the best listening you'll ever have. So apologies for 5 minutes you won't get back.
Okay.
Put your phone down, James.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I didn't know if I ended it properly. Good. Yes, that's Instagram. Let's park that for the moment. And don't forget, there's the book on our website if you go to the resources tab. Yes, a little bit of fun thing. So we talked about Mae West. Now, I feigned ignorance about Mae West, and people said, you must know who Mae West is. And of course, I kind of do, but I didn't think about it at the time.
Feigned interest.
I knew. She's the come up and see me sometime.
You feigned it very well.
I did, yeah. I wasn't thinking straight. I was confused by the smell and aroma of the 1960s jet equipment. But yes, a lot of people have pointed out that apparently the Mae West is so named because Mae West was famous for her large breasts, and that's what you looked like when you put on this life jacket. I have to say, this was not a hashtag Me Too era, was it? 1942 or whenever?
No, probably not. No.
So,
no, and
somebody coined that.
Yes, but interesting. I can see that as possibly being the reason why it was given that nickname. It seems as plausible as anything else.
Yeah, but if you do, somebody on Twitter sent me a video of Mae West's best lines, and it's golden, each one. If you have a spare 5 minutes, look at that, or just Google Mae West's funny lines. Brilliant.
Lots of people did have a spare 5 minutes, but they just wasted it looking at you.
Yeah, not live. Okay, but I think we've come to the end of everything.
We have, the end of everything.
The end of everything. It's been a packed episode. It's been a busy week. We are going to be recording a few more, probably on Monday or Tuesday, to cover the time when we're away. And we're going to hopefully do, actually, we should say this as well, Mark. We're going to hopefully do a live episode of the show recorded at NINC. We've got a space available to it. I've got the equipment, so we just need to round up
James's bedroom,
a couple of guests, and you can come there. You can even ask us questions. We'll have a young Tom with a roving microphone. So we'll do that in Florida next week if you're attending, Nick. Otherwise, we hope to see you at the drinks, either in Vancouver or in Florida. And until then, I should say, it's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Get show notes, the podcast archive, and free resources to boost your writing career at selfpublishingshow.com. Join our thriving Facebook group at selfpublishingshow.com/Facebook. Support the show at patreon.com/selfpublishing show. And join us next week for more help and inspiration so that you can make your mark as a successful indie author. Publishing is changing, so get your words into the world and join the revolution with the Self-Publishing Show.